Welcome to Riverstone Reviews. Okay guys, we're just going to jump right into today's video. Batwoman Season 2 premiere. After watching, all I'm left with is, why? They had an opportunity to reset the stage in Gotham. Go a few episodes without Batwoman and let her be redefined. Let the city discover the loss of Batwoman and deal with it. Let the criminals become emboldened by her passing, setting up new criminals and strengthening old ones for Batwoman's replacement to have to face. And take time for the heir to Batwoman's mantle to prove they are the one. They are worthy. They are mentally strong, emotionally stable, and able to keep in control and allow justice to be the reason behind her actions. At least that's what I hoped. That's not what we got. So let's look at Batwoman Season 2, Episode 1. It starts with the most unceremonious death to Batwoman, but also the hardest to do on a low budget. As Ryan Wilder sleeps in a van with a plant she talks to, a flaming piece of plane falls next to her van. She looks up and sees the rest of the plane coming down. Somehow, traveling at 100 miles per hour, hundreds of feet in the sky, the plane crashes near the part that she stands by. And the parts all remain together, even though she was just looking at it above. Now, Ryan is the first person at the crash site because the explosion woke her and no one else in the entire city. As she looks through the remains, she finds an injured man not breathing. She quickly brings him back to life using chest compressions, because apparently he didn't suffer injuries from the high-speed impact crash or being strewn from a plane, but instead had a mild heart attack that could be revived. Meanwhile, from the Batcave, Luke Fox, with all his high-tech equipment, can't detect an explosion in the sky that people could see for miles. I mean, this guy can see deep into secure buildings and into stadiums from space, but he can't detect or intercept airport transmission that a plane just blew up over Gotham. Really? Now remember, she just brought a man back to life. Ryan doesn't stay with him or immediately get help. She searches the wreckage and finds the Batsuit. Sirens can be heard approaching, and yet the first thought isn't to wait for approaching emergency vehicles or help the man that she brought back to life that might be watching her like a superhero might. No. And there's no sign of Kane and no other luggage or bodies. She doesn't know if Batwoman is dead or if she was even on this flight. Yet she decides to take the Batsuit for herself and run away before the approaching emergency vehicles arrive. Now, something about me personally, I've been in multi-car crashes, building fires, and was in New York City when the World Trade was bombed. During those events, all decent people think about is getting help, helping people, and making sure or hoping anyone in danger is safe. Only the most despicable, selfish, low-life people think of stealing things, taking stuff from a tragedy for themselves, finding opportunity in death and destruction instead of trying to keep searching for bodies or contacting the authorities or comforting survivors. Welcome to Ryan Wilder, the first superhero to steal her identity while literally picking from the remains of Batwoman. This isn't like someone who has a checkered past, reforms and becomes a good hero. Ryan Wilder literally steals the Batsuit from the wreckage and death, knowing full well someone could come for it, maybe even Batwoman herself, since Batwoman's body isn't near the crash or anywhere in sight. Now later in the show, Ryan tells a social worker how she was framed by the Crow's law enforcement for a crime she didn't commit. Yet, the quickness of her actions to steal the Batsuit is not the actions of an innocent person who never committed a crime. It is the actions of someone who does commit crimes, who knows the first thing to do is take what she wants before anyone shows. Innocent people's first reaction is not to steal. It literally turned my stomach to think that the writers and producers of this show want me to root for this woman and believe she will eventually stand for justice. There were problems with the first season, but after the beginning of this show, my first thought was, I wish Kane was coming back this season. Where Kane took the Batsuit from its storage in a Batcave. It seems undeserved. At least she was trained as a security professional, had some understanding of justice, law enforcement, and criminals, and seemingly had a conscience. So anyways, the police and Jacob Kane search the wreckage for any remains of Kane without success. Alice looks from the distance at the wreckage, angry at the realization that Ruby Rose was smart enough to bail on this series while she got suckered into doing another season. Then Bruce's doppelganger, Tommy Elliott, shows up at Wayne Manor. No one has any suspicions and takes him directly to the Batcave. Meanwhile, Ryan meets with this social worker that I mentioned just a second ago. She weirdly alludes to stumbling into something life-changing, as if she is about to tell the social worker about finding the Batsuit. The social worker doesn't care and asks if she found work, which Ryan replies how no one will hire her as an ex-con and how she was framed but innocent playing a victim. It's like she doesn't think that stealing the Batsuit from a plane crash was criminal. This moment is meant to create sympathy for Ryan, but it just makes you think that she's lying about being innocent because we watched her commit a crime, which at the start of this scene, she seems proud of, calling it a life changer. Then we have a bunch of sequences where Julie, Sophie, Mary, and Jacob all lament over Batwoman or Kane missing. Bruce's doppelganger walks around the Batcave, getting weirdly and erotically excited about a sticky bomb launcher, which seems very unlike Batman, but doesn't trigger any warnings in Luke. Luke then pulls the only remaining piece of kryptonite out of his pocket, because he seems to just carry it around with him, and says this item is stronger than the Batsuit. Now right here, it's like the writers never made it past 5th grade science. Materials are based on hardness and toughness when talking about kryptonite penetrating the Batsuit. Strength is a comparison of materials failing or becoming deformed against an applied load, like hanging weights on a chain. Toughness is a material's ability to absorb energy, like the Batsuit being hit by a bullet. And hardness is a material's ability to resist deformation or failure, like kryptonite penetrating the Batsuit. So to say that kryptonite is stronger doesn't mean that kryptonite is harder or tougher than the Batsuit. Diamonds are the hardest material, allowing them to penetrate when used as a jeweler's saw, but they are not tough or strong because they can shatter when impacted or crumble under weight. But anyways, Luke carries the only material able to penetrate the Batsuit in his pocket and gives it to Tommy posing as Bruce. And why not? So many people in this show know Kate was Batwoman and Bruce was Batman. This place has no security protocols, so just give it to him. In the bathroom, Ryan takes the suit out of her bag, which happens to fit her perfectly. She says, "Never again," while seeing flashbacks of her mother and her being beaten by Alice's thugs. She apparently knows how to use this high-tech suit without any guidance or instructions, and instantly goes to fight a crime. No tests of what the suit can do, no learning curve. Ryan just drops in from above on these thugs like she's Spider-Man. She doesn't panic when they shoot at her, and she somehow has figured out that swiping her wrist makes the suit work. Even though she was a martial arts instructor, she doesn't use any real martial arts moves or fights with discipline. Apparently this show has decided that if Batwoman throws a few kicks, that's martial arts. So she threatens to hurt a guy if he doesn't talk to her, admitting that she has no idea what she's about to do to him or if it might kill him. Boy, this Batwoman is heroic. So Alice comes into Wayne Mansion and tells some long, nonsensical story how her plan was to get the kryptonite and put it in Jacob's gun, so when he shot Batwoman, aka Kane, it would kill her and he would see that he, in fact, killed his own daughter. Whatever. Tommy shows Kate that he got the kryptonite. In Kate's apartment, Sophie smells Kate's shirt in a moment that's kind of creepy and kind of like a laundry detergent commercial. Then Julie comes in and they talk about Batwoman missing. Mary and Luke walk through tunnels using a tracker, finding Ryan wearing the Batsuit. They see it's not Kate. Ryan says she saw Kate Kane's plane goes down and knows she's dead. Now, how did Ryan know that Kate Kane was on that airplane? How did she know the Batsuit was Kate Kane's? How does she know these people are Kate's friends? They asked for the suit, but they didn't identify themselves. Ryan then gives some speech that unashamedly sounds like affirmative action. That's the reason she's worthy of wearing the suit, quoting a bunch of social isolated statistics. That because her life was bad and hard, and she was accused of a crime she didn't commit, and her mom was killed, she deserves the Batsuit, even though it's the property of Wayne Enterprises. She talks as if she deserves to take a dead woman's possessions because her life lacked opportunity, and because she wants the suit, she has a right to take it. It's $1 million high-tech uniform, and it's one of a kind, and Kate Kane's body hasn't been found. Why don't they ask Ryan how she knows Kate is dead if there was no body? Why would they believe this stranger who's willing to take the property from a dead person? Wouldn't you want proof? Luke should want proof. Ryan also seems to know that Kate found the Batsuit in the Batcave. Now, how did she know that Kate found the suit in the Batcave? Or that this suit was Batman's? And how does she know that Kate didn't deserve it? I remember Kate Kane escaping from handcuffs under ice water for training on her first episode. That's a little bit more than what this woman did. There's so much this character knows that isn't possible for a woman who was homeless sleeping in a van to know. It feels like the writers are just trying to talk directly to an audience and quickly convince us that she deserves it using justification that only an audience would accept because these characters wouldn't accept this. So anyways, Ryan says that they can have back the suit when she is done with it, then shoots a grapple into the ceiling and disappears upward. But she's underground in a tunnel. Where did she go? She's got to be hanging 10 feet above them from the ceiling. Why they decide to place this scene in this location doesn't make sense. If she was outside, at least her exit would be believable. You can even see how low the ceiling is in the next shot. Then after the scene where Julie realizes Ruth is a fraud in disguise, we have a flashback of Alice and her henchman killing Ryan's mom, but leaving Ryan alive. Now why? Alice kills everyone. She doesn't need a reason to not kill Ryan. There's no way Alice, realizing this girl saw her face, would leave her alive. It's such a ridiculous backstory to give Ryan a reason to go after Alice. Couldn't Alice at least stab her thinking she killed Ryan, and Ryan barely surviving, which would at least make Ryan seem like a real survivor? And this backstory seems to make Mary, who Kate kept trying to keep out of making bad decisions, seems to think that Ryan may deserve the suit. Mary has almost been killed a couple times. Why doesn't she deserve the suit? Luke kinda agrees, but I think Luke doesn't care anymore. Luke, the character, like the actor playing him, is only hanging around for the paycheck at this point. So Ryan decides for some reason, after reading an article on Kate, to return the Batsuit by activating a homing signal. How did she know how to activate the homing signal? Now keep in mind that Ryan knew enough about Kate to know that she took the Batsuit from the Batcave and make it her own. But now that she learns Kate opened a lesbian bar from a newspaper article, this somehow means that Ryan should give the suit back? So Julia tells Luke and Mary that Bruce is a fraud and really Tommy Elliot from Arkham Asylum. Meanwhile, Tommy is in the Batcave and sees that Ryan has activated the suit's homing signal and goes after her with the Batmobile. Then Jacob comes into Wayne Manor, gun ready, and demands from Alice where Kate is while Alice sits playing a piano. She tells him that Kate is dead, that Kate was Batwoman, and that he has to live with the last time he saw Kate, he was shooting his gun at her trying to kill her. Sad, Jacob lets Alice go. I don't even understand Jacob's character. Everyone in this show, including the homeless Ryan in the van, knows Kate was Batwoman, but the head of Crow Security, Jacob, has no clue. We're going into season 2, and it seems to me the only reason he is in this show is that his sperm created Alice, Kate, and Mary, and that his job is to shoot at Batwoman. He's not even a stereotypical cop. He's a sperm donor with a gun. So Luke and Mary are back at the Batcave, trying to help Ryan as she outmaneuvers the Batmobile in her VW van. She actually dodges a missile shot by the Batmobile. Anyone watching this who didn't burst into laughter at the absurdity of this chase was either mentally checked out of the stupidity or fell asleep watching this show. Then Luke, at the Batcave, is able to take control of the Batmobile and shut it down. Elliot goes on foot and finds Ryan's van parked. Ryan jumps out, then Tommy Elliot shoots her. By the way, he somehow took the piece of kryptonite and made it into a bullet without changing its shape and had it loaded into the gun ready for this moment. Whatever, I'm done pointing out the stupidity since this episode is almost over. A big deal was made how kryptonite is the only thing that can penetrate the Batsuit, and yet it doesn't. It just breaks the surface and sticks in it. And Ryan is so tough. She gets up after being shot like nothing happened and beats Tommy in the face with her fists until his face falls off. Those who don't know, his face was one of Alice's skin masks that fit perfectly, but are on the surface to cover the face, yet still has blood like it's alive. The show could have easily made these masks latex like Mission Impossible, or actually a face transplant where under the skin is muscle. But this show believes, why do something right when you can do it half-assed? So the show ended with Luke and Mary deciding Ryan is a good Batwoman after all. Then the rest of the ending is every character having a good cry about Ruby Rose no longer being on the show and how they are all stuck having to continue to do this for another season. Oh, and by the way, there's one point where Ryan peels off the wound where she got shot, and it's green, as if she's infected with the kryptonite. I mean, is she going to become like Superman? Like a superhero? Is she going to become an anti-Superman? Because if she's got kryptonite in her, her presence would make Superman weak. And how did this happen? Kryptonite's hardest material on the earth and isn't radioactive. No one else touching it or handling it got infected or somehow influenced by this kryptonite, so why did it get to her? Anyways, that is Batwoman Season 2, Episode 1. I'm not going to recap a critique here. This show is terrible. This second season will be worse than the first. And I actually liked CW hero shows as a whole. I mean, they were kind of cheesy, but I grew up on the original Hulk and Wonder Woman shows. I don't mind that they weren't everything they could be. They were just there to entertain and give kids a place to start to believe in some of these superheroes and get to learn about them. And I worked in entertainment on the creative side. I accept when a company buys a creative property, they have the right to do with it what they want. If they want to make every character lesbian or push politics, I don't care. They have that right, they own it. But regardless of your politics, sexuality, or race, what makes a person good, respectable, honorable, and worthy of admiration doesn't change. Making a character who's marginalized, a grave robber, who, because of her hardships, feels she's entitled to be Batwoman, that is not a character anyone is going to look up to. So avoid this show like a train wreck if possible. But if you want to watch Batwoman, go in expecting to be let down and disappointed, and you might actually be distanced enough to let yourself be entertained by the epic badness of this show. The last note I have is for Jeff Johns or Bellini, whatever his name is, producers of this show. Listen up, because I'm going to tell you how this show could have been done right. To keep with the female and sexual represented you wanted in the show, could have been a crossover event with DC's Legends of Tomorrow. They discover that in a timeline, one of the people decided to extract revenge on Batwoman for her involvement in Crisis Infinite Earth, and decided to kill Batwoman since she was a non-meta and the easiest to destroy. Then the Legends realize Batwoman was killed, but they cannot undo it because they don't know where the killer is. And if they try to undo this past, the killer might redo it, and they'll end up with more corrections and having to refix it, and each time errors in the timeline could occur. But in the timeline, Batwoman's presence is vital to Earth. So Sarah Lance decides the only choice is to take up the mantle of Batwoman. Sarah Lance's character is bisexual, she's a badass trained in fighting, and is very astute with technology because she flies a time ship and works with advanced weapons, as well as being great in hand-to-hand combat. And Sarah Lance already has the proven morality and ethics necessary for a superhero to stay on the side of good, something that Kane struggled with after murdering someone. If Sarah Lance put on the outfit, she could pretend that Kane never died to the general public who did not know that Kate was Batwoman, and could reset the relationships with those who did know Kate was Batwoman, understanding that this is being done by Sarah to protect the future of Earth, which is enough motivation for characters to go along with it. Katie Loltz is a good actor, and she would have elevated Batwoman to a stronger superhero, a character that CW needs to lead their remaining superhero shows into the future. But I know the producers aren't listening to this. But I hope those of you who are can see from my suggestions that I think they could have fixed this show and kept their agendas going, whether I agree with them or not. I'm not out to pan their political social views. I don't care if they match my views. All that matters is the show could have been good enough that everyone could have been entertained. Instead, everyone's going to be disappointed in this show. That's all for today. Click like or subscribe, and as always, in the river of life, don't let yourself get pushed around with the currents. Be yourself, be a stone in the river.